Here's the history of Copernicus, friends. Please go to Wikipedia and put in the words Pope Paul III, and you'll find that his name was Alessandro Farnese. Would that be one of the richest elite black nobility Venetian families of history, who came from Persia to Rome? The Farnese family? Would that be the same family that, together with the Borgia family, created the Jesuits in 1539? And then Copernicus posthumously, after he died, Copernicus, the supposed historical Copernicus, released the book on revolutions in 1542. So what was going on in that decade? Well, it's interesting. They convened Pope Paul, the Farnese, who is the great-grandfather of Fidel Castro. Castro is of the Farnese family. They own a lot of land. Trust me. A lot of the USA belongs to the Farnese family. These guys were the globalists, because already people had been going across the Atlantic. They knew the earth was, the sea was level. They knew that it was a stationary earth. So they had to make a container of all the known lands that they controlled. And so they got their Jesuit boy Copernicus to create a theory, which it still is. It's called the Copernican theory, and he said it's a hypothesis. It's not to be taken as absolute truth. It's only useful to describe certain phenomena. Thank you, Copernicus. Those were his words. Here it says, when you look up Pope Paul III, in the third paragraph you'll read this. Paul III was significant patron of saint artists, including Michelangelo, and it is to him that Nicholas Copernicus dedicated his heliocentric treatise. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Then the Jesuits started. Then 2 years later, they convened the Council of Trent. The Council of Trent lasted 18 years. Now, there have been 21 councils in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. 21 councils. In 1545 to 1563, 18 years, the Jesuits and the Copernican model, they gathered in Trent, the Council of Trent, for 18 years. All the other 20 councils only lasted 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and one, the longest one, was 5 years. In these 18 years, they called that council the Council of the Counter-Reformation. Because you see, there was two guys getting around that didn't like the Copernican globe theory. And they were called Martin Luther and John Calvin. Let's see what they had to say, shall we? About our dear loved revolutionary Nicholas Copernicus. Well, here's John Calvin. Oops. Let me get this smudge off here so I can read. Well, here's John Calvin, and this is what he had to say. We will see some who are so deranged, not only in religion, but who in all things reveal their monstrous nature, that they will say that the sun does not move, and that it is the earth which shifts and turns. Referring to Copernicus, of course, the Jesuit, because he was a Protestant. When we see such minds, we must indeed confess that the devil possesses them. The Satanists, the globalists with all their globalist agendas, are Satanists. the globe model is the new world order model, is Lucifer, Satan's model. You've all been deceived. If you're a globie, you have all been deceived. And this is the greatest lie. The bigger you tell them, the bigger they fall. He went on to say, and that God sets them before us as mirrors in order to keep us in his fear. He keeps these stupid globies as mirrors so that we refuse to submit to the herd mind and the science, which hasn't been proven, and we think for ourselves because we are intelligent. What about Martin Luther, his friend over in Germany? There is talk of a new astrologer who wants to prove that the earth moves and goes around on the sky. It goes around, instead of the sky, the sun and the moon. Just as if somebody were moving in a carriage or ship might hold that he was standing still and at rest while the earth and the trees walked and moved. But that is how things are nowadays. When a man wishes to be clever, he must needs invent something special. And the way he does it must needs be the best. The fool wants to turn the whole art of astronomy upside down. However, as Holy Scripture tells us, so did Joshua tell the sun to stand still and not the earth. So what do you think they were doing at that council for 18 years, the Counter-Reformation, against these two guys? These two guys were going to keep the old world order intact. But guess who prevailed? Oh, well, they started a 30-year war, didn't they? Where they massacred these guys. The Calvinists fled to Americas, the Lutherans fled to the Americas. They all fled Europe because the Copernican Revolution, the New World Order, began in the Council of Trent.